Two of the three suspects in the Crystal Rogers case faced a judge this morning, and it is our top story here at noon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jim Stratman. One of the accused, Steve Lawson, appeared with a new attorney and perhaps a new strategy. Ian Hardwick and photojournalist Jessica Farley were in the court early this morning, and he joins us in studio now with what happened during a pretty short hearing.
That's right. Steve Lawson has maintained his right to keep interviews he gave to investigators essentially out of his upcoming trial. That's because of a Kentucky state statute that allows defendants to keep any statements given away during the plea bargaining process away from court. However, the judge has ordered some interviews given during the grand jury process will be admissible in court. This decision on evidentiary protection was one roadblock in deciding whether Steve Lawson's trial will be shared with his son, Joseph Lawson. And the third suspect in Crystal Rogers' disappearance, her ex-boyfriend, Brooks Houck. Houck's legal team wanted to use some of the interviews Steve gave to investigators against Steve. Steve's lawyers believe consolidating the trials isn't very likely now.
I think it's going to be difficult for this court to grant a consolidation motion based on what we just elected. With that said, I'm sure the counsel for the other defendant is going to be quite in the same position that we are.
The defendant he spoke of was Joseph Lawson, who will continue his virtual appearances in the courtroom going forward. Trials are expected to begin next February, though we don't know if they'll be consolidated or not. The judge has narrowed down the locations of where those would take place. That's Warren and Christian counties, but he didn't say when he would make that decision. I'm live in studio, Ian Hardwick.
Thank you very much, Ian. An update now for you on the Jamey Noel investigation. The judge presiding over Jamey Noel's civil trial says he's torn on how to rule. Noel was in court Thursday while attorneys for his former fire department, New Chapel EMS, and attorneys from the state argued over who's entitled to the money they claim Noel stole. The Attorney General's office wants to recoup $3.8 million, but here's where it gets confusing. The money that was taken from the New Chapel EMS private bank accounts. But the judge says there are still public funds because they came from government contracts. Now, after hearing from both sides, the judge said that he's unsure which way he's going to rule.
I vary from following a strict interpretation to needing to have everyone involved. And I'm not sure at this point in time.
Next civil trial hearing is set for November 13th. His criminal sentencing is set for October 14th. And the Noel legal saga doesn't end there. Newly filed court documents are asking a judge to hold Jamey Noel and his wife Misty in contempt of court, arguing the two violated court orders when they failed to make payments on their house in Florida. The documents say that Jamey and Misty haven't paid their mortgage in more than 4 months. Although the court granted the state an injunction that freezes the Noel's accounts, they still have access to funds to pay their bills and maintain payments on their properties. The two are expected to appear in court November 13th. Well, it looks to be a beautiful start to your weekend, a weekend that is filled with events throughout Kentuckiana. We have a list of those on our website as well. You think all about some of those events with the St. James Art Show, as well as the event out at Bowman Field, Bowman Fest going on. Our Reed Yaden is out at Bowman Field right now. Reed, tell me a little bit about what it's looking like out there. I know Bowman Field could be considered your happy place.
It is. Bowman Fest getting ready to come up here. In fact, a big event is happening. One of the major airplanes just came in. There's a C-130 from the Kentucky Air National Guard just landed a while ago, taxiing over. John, can we get a shot of that? Beautiful day out here at Bowman. Bowman Fest is a 2-day event. You are invited out. There is a 5K run tomorrow morning. We'll have more on that coming up here shortly. Right now, let's go ahead and take a look at Max 1. What we have going on today is a lot of sunshine no matter where you are. And we're looking at our big weather story today, and that happens to be sunshine all over the place. Dry, sunny weekend, a cold front on Sunday. Look at the temperatures. 76 right now. Temperatures in the mid to upper 70s. In fact, we see a couple of 80s. Hodgenville right now, 80 degrees. It is a nice day. There's your 12-hour forecast. Top out in the low to mid 80s around the viewing area this afternoon. I'll tell you what, Jim, it just could not be any better for all of the events. St. James, Bowman Fest, there's everything going on this weekend. We'll be back here in about 15 minutes. Right now, they're taxiing that big Herc in. They're going to park him here. And I will tell you tomorrow morning at the end of the 5K, when you finish your run, you'll finish under the wing of that C-130. Beautiful to see that here at Bowman Field. I'll see you again in a few minutes.
Sounds good, Reed. We will check back in with you then. But first, we're taking a look at Hurricane Helene, the aftermath of that storm, as it has now become the deadliest mainland hurricane since Katrina hit in 2005. More than 200 people have died and hundreds more are still missing. These scenes taken from above show the damage left in Asheville, North Carolina. In Mountain City, electricity is now coming back on slowly, and resources are getting distributed with greater reach. According to the latest updates, 72 people were killed in that county alone. Appalachian State University in Boone, North Carolina, is closed until the 15th. Aerolux co-owner Brooke Barzik took their helicopters and helped drop off food and water and a lot of other baby supplies for those who are still stuck.
It's absolute devastation. Even just this valley through here is decimated. And I think the one thing that stands out the most is even after it had been several days since it had happened, there still was no aid here at all. So we were some of the first people, and Savage were some of the first people in the area to begin bringing in aid. And it's all it's all community based, essentially.
Barzik said that his private chopper company alone carried out an estimated 150 deliveries comprised of mainly water, food, baby items, fuel, and even Starlink satellites. Each helicopter can carry approximately 400 pounds of supplies and aid, according to Barzik. And through it all, one Asheville artist still was able to make it to Louisville for the 68th St. James Court Art Show. WHAS11's Clarice Shaley and photojournalist Elijah McKenzie were with her as she was setting up her booth for day one.
Hundreds of artists set up for the St. James Court Art Show.
All right.
One of those artists is Maria Andrade Troya.
So usually you gotta pack the lids really carefully. The best way is to make sure that the knob is inside and you tape it so it doesn't slip out and break. It doesn't feel really heavy with water.
Preparing her booth number 702 on South 3rd Street, setting up handcrafted pieces salvaged before Hurricane Helene hit her studio in Asheville, North Carolina.
Well guys, here's the update. Our window held.
Floor would seep a little bit, so we were used to that, but this was way beyond that.
Somehow she was able to leave that behind for the 3-day show in Louisville.
Once we figured out we could get gas and then the roads were open, I just thought, I'm not gonna have any income for the next 3 months.
Water rose to the 2nd floor of her building in Asheville. Troya ended up losing glazes she'd made and her kiln.
For us, October through December are our busiest seasons. The season, fall leaf peeping season for Western North Carolina is huge. So we lost the whole month.
Troya lost her studio, but her heart goes out to the communities in Western North Carolina. She's landed at St. James, though, with some of the best weather in recent history and potential record crowds.
One of Troya's studio mates is also at St. James from Asheville. She's up South 3rd Street from her booth 110. Now, a GoFundMe has been created to help her and her studio mates, and we do have a link to that posted online.